JT Show.
What's going on, you sexy beasts, and welcome to another episode of the Smash JT Show, my weekly episodic adventure of talking about divisive issues in the video game industry and beyond sometimes. And this week we have a ton to cover. Just so you know, in case you're new to this, airs every Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. To kick things off, we have to talk about the biggest news of the week: Nintendo Mobile Division making a crap ton of money, and it's coming from an area that a lot of people may not necessarily expect it to be coming from. Fire Emblem Heroes is making over $400 million since it debuted. That's 10 times what Animal Crossing Pocket Camp made, 6 times what Super Mario Run made. This game is absolutely killing it for Nintendo and only going to lead them down the path of making more mobile games because of the success of this specific title. As of this date, Fire Emblem Heroes has been out for about 18 months, and within the first year it made about 300 million. In 2018, it made 100 million. The game is on an absolute rampage, selling 52% through the Google Play Store and 48% through Apple's App Store. It's pretty split evenly across the board, with most of the people buying the in-app purchases from Japan, which isn't too surprising because it's a very popular franchise there, but I also wonder about the demographics in buying in-app purchases and if this is going to lead towards genre-defining games for mobile in buying in-app purchases. But my question for you is this: is this a good thing for Nintendo to have success like this, to the extreme of $400 million from one game in 18 months, from a mobile in-app purchases where it's a free download and all this money is coming from in-app purchases? Is this a good thing for Nintendo? Or should we take a step back and say, uh-oh, if Nintendo's having this kind of success with their mobile division, are they gonna start taking their focus away from the Switch if they're putting less effort into these mobile games and receiving far more of a profit? Or do we feel like Nintendo's gonna keep a balance because the Switch has been so successful? I will say this: thank God the Switch has been successful, because otherwise, looking at the success of Fire Emblem Heroes on mobile phones, if Nintendo didn't have a console that was performing well right now, this kind of success would probably shift a major developer like Nintendo to go straight to mobile. So thankfully the Switch is being successful, but I worry about the future and wonder if this is going to change how they go about making games, and if this success is going to keep up, if the mobile division is going to be at the front of their mind when they're developing games for the Nintendo Switch, if it's going to affect how they make games for the future. But I'd love to get your take on that. Let me know in the comments how you feel about Nintendo's success in the mobile division, and if you feel like it's a precursor to ruining what games they'll be making in the future, or if you think Nintendo will keep a balance like they always seem to have done in the past. Next up, I have to talk about the news that's really hitting the internet pretty hard right now, and that's the Spyro Trilogy, and how only the first game is going to be on the disc, with Spyro 2 and 3 being download titles only. And seeing as they're Blu-ray discs, they should have the ability to hold far more information on them, so capacity for holding 3 Spyro games, even if they're HD remasters, shouldn't be an issue. The space on the disc, I would think, holds enough to be able to keep all of those on it. But I'm wondering if Activision is making this decision as kind of a precursor for the future of downloadable titles, as a way to fight back at used game stores like Gamestop, who we all know is struggling right now, if they're going to be doing this in the future, like what Capcom did with Mega Man Collection and Mega Man X Collection on the Nintendo Switch, where the first one came on the cart and the second one was download only. It really destroys the resale value of these cartridges and these discs if they're only putting part of it on the disc or cart, where the rest of the games, the whole games, are downloadable only. In a way, it's kind of a genius business decision to fight used game sales and to keep control over inventory, but it remains to be seen how the general public will be reacting to this. Will they pick it up? Will they be buying these games, not concerned about half of the titles will be downloadable, or in Spyro's case, more than half the titles, 2 out of the 3 will be download only? Is this something that people are going to be okay with and buying, or do you plan on using the principle of the matter to not make a purchase on this game itself? I'd be very interested to hear where you guys stand on this, because for me personally, I hate the idea of having full game downloads coming on retail releases, to the point that I won't buy those games. I have no intention of buying any of the Mega Man collections, LA Noire. There's been a number of other games that have gone down this path already, and it seems to be picking up speed, which is a very scary proposition. But again, let me know your thoughts on that below. Am I going crazy, or is this something that you are afraid of as well? And speaking of used games and GameStop struggling, GameStop had decided to remove their Elite membership that they just introduced a few months ago. It didn't even last a full year before they decided to can it. And getting rid of the Elite Pro memberships at GameStop may be in response to Best Buy suddenly canning their Gamers Club program. But I also wonder if this is in response to what we just spoke about, where developers are making games and then only putting part of what you're buying on the actual cartridge or disc, and you have to download the rest of it separately with a code, and then if someone tries to resell that to, say, a GameStop or a Best Buy, half of the game will be missing, most likely, because the code would have already been redeemed. So I wonder if that's playing a part in the long-term success, or in this case failure, of GameStop, and if their success from used games is in severe jeopardy because of this new approach from developers. What was once the biggest moneymaker of the entire company, used games, is going away because of how the game companies are fighting back. But one thing I worry about, and I gotta give credit to James from Stuff We Play, he brought up a great point when talking about GameStop and how these games are coming partially with download codes. What happens if someone buys the game, uses the download code, redeems it, and then returns it because they said they didn't like the game or it's not working or whatever reason, they lie about it, they steal the code? Yes, it's going to happen. How are the game stores going to handle this? Are they going to be able to resell that game again as new or even used without the download code even working, or no way of telling if the download code works? There's just a gigantic problem that shows up with used game sales when you introduce something like partially downloadable games on the actual discs and cartridges that we're buying right now. Moving on to the next topic, it's Gran Turismo getting microtransactions 1 year after the producer of the series said it will not have microtransactions. Do you guys see a trend with this episode? The Smash JT episode is talking all about DLC, microtransactions, digital codes. This is the direction that the industry is clearly headed. It's a scary proposition from what we're used to, and change, while maybe good sometimes, it's always, like I said, very scary. And in this instance specifically, with the producer of Gran Turismo saying last year that there'd be no way, no how, no microtransactions involved in the Gran Turismo game, and then 1 year later saying we're introducing microtransactions to this, I wonder how people who are fans of that series feel about this decision. Because on one hand, it does introduce the ability to spend real money on stuff instead of grinding away to get the cars in the game, but at the same time, from my personal perspective looking at this, playing Gran Turismo all my life and loving the series, that's what you play the game for. You play these races, you grind in them, you unlock cars. That was the whole point of the game, at least it was to me, not to mention having fun driving the cars and feeling how realistic each individual car felt, all those different things involved with it. I had a ton of fun with Gran Turismo and never felt the need that microtransactions should be in this game. But I want to throw that question out to you guys, because microtransactions aren't required, we all know that, but I wonder if the developers are starting to steer, no pun intended, towards the direction of making it harder to unlock stuff so that people feel the need to drop real world money and unlock things faster, and that's a really scary proposition as well. Not to mention, I understand things change very rapidly in this age of technology we're living in right now, but is it okay for a company to say one thing and then do a 180 not 12 months later and completely change their stance on something, saying no microtransactions and then saying yes? Is that fair to the people who bought the game, expecting one thing and then it changes 12 months later? That doesn't seem right to me. And speaking of things changing midway through a purchase, and it's not necessarily video game related, but it is entertainment related, and it struck a chord with me and I wanted to present it to you guys. It's MoviePass. Not sure how familiar you guys are with this, but it's basically, I bought it for my wife. Tons of people participated in this where you pay a fee. For me, I got it through Costco. It was like $100 for the year, where you can go to as many movies as you want in a 12-month period, and it didn't matter what movie you went to go see. But MoviePass has financially been struggling. They're losing, according to their earnings call, millions of dollars every month that goes by, especially with movies like Avengers Infinity War, where they have to pay the full price for the ticket, but people who have the pass already have the pass, so it wasn't working. From the get-go, it was kind of sketchy. But now MoviePass has changed their stance on brand new movies, saying we're not going to allow people to go attend brand new movies within the first 2 weeks of release and only see the specific design movies that this pass was made for in the first place. But that's changing what people had purchased the pass for and what they expected. So I didn't really like how they did this. Now, according to my buddy Super Nintendo, he said in the fine print they reserve the right to change the terms and conditions of the MoviePass at any given time. But doing so doesn't seem very fair to the consumer, because when you buy a product, you expect it to be what you purchased. And when it changes halfway through, that's not what you bought, and that's not fair to you. So I wanted to get your take on this. Is it fair for a company to change something midway through if they put it in their terms and conditions? Or is that kind of BS because you bought a specific product for intended use, and now you're not allowed to use it the way you intended? And moving on, we gotta talk about the smashing video of the week. And actually, because it's the first week of the month, I want to direct you all to the playlist that I made for my favorite videos from all of July 2018. I actually made a playlist, and I'll put the link in the description below. Every single one of these videos is fantastic. So if you're looking for something to watch and YouTube's algorithm is really screwing with you, they're showing you a bunch of stuff you don't care about, like a gigantic nutsack in your face from TLC, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't want to watch that kind of stuff, I completely understand. Take a look at the description and watch some of these amazing creators. They definitely deserve your attention. And moving on, Nintendo announced that the Labo had sold over 1.3 million units of the original 1 and 2 Labo kits, which is far more than I would have expected it to sell, especially after buying it myself and not really feeling it. Yeah, it was fun for the first 5, 10, 20 minutes or so, but I really haven't gone back and touched these ever since I put them together and played it initially. Even my son isn't a big fan of it. It's just too much work to get it all set up for what you actually get out of it. So Nintendo announced a new Labo the other day, and it's called the Vehicle Kit. And I'll be honest, it looks pretty awesome. But from my personal experience with Labo and how little I've been using it, I'm hesitating on buying this one because I'm not even using the ones I bought originally. I definitely didn't get my money's worth out of them yet, and I don't foresee in the future that I would be either. As far as buying the new Labo, I don't really see myself doing that, but I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are on it. For those of you who bought the original Labo kits, will you be buying this next kit? And for those of you who did not participate in buying the first 2 kits, are you interested in the Vehicle Kit, or are you just going to completely avoid Labo altogether? And finally, Elon Musk via Twitter had announced that version 9.0's update for Teslas is going to be able to run Atari games. But not just run Atari games to play them, but actually work in conjunction with the steering wheel of the actual Tesla. I'm assuming while the Tesla is going to be off, you can play these games. Let's hope that's how it works. Very interesting combination of companies. First off, we all know where I stand on Atari, where a lot of people feel like it's a very shady company these days, but they aren't afraid to share their name with other companies to get their games everywhere you can find them. As far as this, it's interesting, it's weird, it's definitely unexpected, but it also kind of makes me want to get a Tesla someday. And that's where I'm going to end this week's episode. First off, thank you so much to all the Patreons I'm listing right here. You guys make such a huge difference contributing to the success of this channel. If you're interested in joining them, hit that Patreon link below me. You can donate as little as $1 per month. Every little bit helps. If you're still not subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications. And if you missed last week's episode, I'm going to put it right there. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and you stay sexy.